interesting from that, and Chris, I'd like to start off with you now, but then open it to everyone else, is that once you've got all this information coming in, I mean, as we know, we are inundated with the ability to measure, to monitor. As so much content conversation is created, it can, as new channels come about, it could swamp you. How do you go about actioning it? How do you go about taking what's good out of it for you and applying it in a way that makes sense for you as a company?
Well, first of all, I think for companies like ourselves, Microsoft, and dealing with brands like MSN and Hotmail, filtering what is out there, what is being said that is relevant for us for the product. So, for instance, Hotmail, if you do regular filtering of content and see what's out there, probably half of the cases is just somebody saying, email me at blah, blah, blah at hotmail.com. So it's not really anything to do with the brand. It's nice, but it's not saying anything about the product. So already for brands like Microsoft or any other big brand, that get mentioned quite a lot, which is in technology. So specifically in the technology sphere, it's a bit more difficult. That is difficult to do. And then we try and measure many things, first of all. So it's not only what's out there in the conversation as go and see what's on blogs or on Facebook, but it's also going out there to bar camps or whatever type of meetup that could be very small, 5, 10, 20, 30 people, that is not set up by you, but that is just being organized, but that you'll probably talk about and talk with people there. And to combine information and try and make sure that gets with the right person. Because as a big organization, you tend to see, well, it's not like you want, but the things are structures in silos. So I'm only responsible for MSN and Windows Live, not for Vista. But if I talk to somebody or somebody comes to my blog, they won't make that distinction. And also they won't make the distinction of that I'm only responsible for Live in Europe and not for the US. Blog is in English, you Microsoft have a problem with this, there you go. So it's channeling that through to the right people, and hopefully they do something with it. And I think a lot of people already value. So whatever the learning comes from trying to make sure it gets with the right people and make sure they deal with it and do a follow-up. So not just like forward the email and then put you in CC like you could do if it were email, say, I solve because it's forwarded to the right person, and I'll make sure there is an action. And it's not email here, but I mean making sure that the people that you send it through follows up.
To carry on, is this in a way, it's almost creating new roles and responsibilities within companies in a way. If you ask for this information, if you say I'm interested in it, it's out there. Once it comes in, you've got to act on it in some way. And that can be not just an outside front-facing thing, it can be very much how do we organize those streams of thoughts within the company.
We also do a lot of evangelization around the topic to make sure that all your colleagues internally consider something like a bar camp as important as I do, because I might say, I guess 20 geeks, it's coming together. It's not like we have 180 million people on Messenger, so that's a bit the thing you need to do. Once you get them in there, get to go out there, get to know it. I think that's a big evangelization you need to do internally to make sure people put the right value on this type of feedback.
Mm-hmm. Just following on from that, you're right to a degree about perhaps there is a function within an organisation, a silo, if you like, that deals with social media, but that's sort of missing really the opportunity that social media can provide. In a way, no, you shouldn't have a specific element of social media because social media is tied into absolutely every single element of your operation, from the product people through to customer service, promotions, marketing, advertising, PR. It's all tied in. You can't compartmentalise social media because every single, from the value chain, right from the inception of your idea all the way through to customer relations and so on, every single person on that level is touched in some way, can improve from social media. So it helps to have someone who might, I think Toyota, I don't know, one of our big clients in the US, I think they were the first person to ever have someone who specifically had social media in their job, or CGM in their job title, but it's still something that all elements of the organisation tap into. Because you don't want to miss, there's opportunities for everyone.
Yeah, and I think that's very interesting because, traditionally in the last 2 years, the idea is that something like social media monitoring or listening would be kind of the purview of maybe the PR department. But essentially what you're saying, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on this as well, is that this can have a positive and a role throughout the decision-making parts of the company.
Absolutely. We see that the information we provide and the services we provide to organizations, they are provided to many different departments in the organization, but also that the information we provide, they are refactored many, many times internally in the organization. So, for example, in a traditional marketing campaign, the situation might have been 2 years ago or 5 years ago that you had some business target you needed to meet, then you formulated that into a brief, you developed a campaign, then you executed the campaign, and you kept your fingers crossed and hoped it panned out all right. The way it works now is that you still have the business targets and you still have the brief, but then you typically get insights from analyzing social media and analyzing the online space. Who are the influencers? What makes people happy? What are the issues? How do we square off against the competitors? That feed into the development of the campaign, both into the creative but also into the planning. And then you roll out the campaign, but you typically start smaller than you used to. Then you monitor the effect and the response to your campaign. And once you have the campaign, make a few adjustments. For example, remove some confusion that it might create in the market. Once you have it honed in, you turn up the volume big time. And we've seen countless times that is a very effective way of using social media at all steps in the campaign to get much more effective results.
So you're saying you can, whether it's a campaign or an ongoing strategy or just a new corporate methodology, if you want, you can more carefully calibrate what your response and I'm going to use the word engage because I'm keeping count for the free drink stuff. Your engagement with an audience or with a social group, you can calibrate it to fit, and you can react quicker and be involved on it.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, I think that gets into an area which can be quite scary for some firms, which is saying, previously you had departments that were set up to deal with the outside of the firm. So you had kind of market research, PR, comms, marketing. All these people, for very sensible reasons, dealt with something that was outside of the firm. Now when we're looking at a situation where the amount of content people are writing about your brand is probably more than you're writing about your brand, these people are actually critical to your firm. They're inside your firm. So rather than saying we need a department that deals with social media, what you need people who act as the glue between that bit of the firm and the rest of your firm. And where it gets scary for brands is where it's most powerful isn't to have your head of social media responding to people or your call center and whoever it is responding to people, is to actually have somebody in your business who knows about it. So get your product development guy, get a tech guy, get a scientist if you're an FMCG firm talking about it, because you start to build these really strong relationships between people who know stuff and care about stuff, rather than having it filtered through a team who previously were just because, very sensible kind of professional reasons around marketing or PR or market research, whatever it was. This is now just about engaging between social beings, and kind of getting to that stage is a bit of a leap for some firms, and wanting to put those staff front and center is a bit of a leap for some firms, but where it really works, you really see some benefit.